Super Radio Brothers Highlight Celebrity Interview. Welcome back to Super Radio Brothers Highlights. This is Super Radio Brothers Highlights Celebrity Interview Edition. Our very special guest today, Anthony Rapp, star of Star Trek Discovery, Lieutenant Commander Paul Stamets. Let's get to the interview. I hope you enjoy. Super Radio Brothers Highlights Celebrity Interview. Star Trek fans know him as Lieutenant Commander Paul Stamets of the USS Discovery. You might also know him from Rent. He originated the character Mark Cohen in the Broadway production in 1996, then later played the same role for the 2005 film version. He's developing his 2006 book, Without You, a Memoir of Love, Loss, and the musical Rent into a musical. I'm super excited to welcome to the Super Radio Brothers, Anthony Rapp. What's up?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, man. I'm so excited to have you on the show because I'm a big Star Trek fan. I love Star Trek. But first of all, before I get to that, I just wanted to tell you, way before you were on Star Trek, you were already immortalized in my head with your role in Adventures in Babysitting. I mean, me and my sister, we watched that movie over and over again when I was a kid. How about that, Adventures in Babysitting?
Yeah, it was 35 years ago. Like right around now, we were still filming that film 35 years ago. Yes. So I just turned 50 in October. I was 15 when I did it. It was my first film, and it spoiled me because it was such a great environment on the set. Chris Columbus is a really friendly and fun director to work with, and all the cast. I mean, it taught me the lesson that filmmaking can be really fun, which is usually the case, but not always the case. So yeah, I was, and the fact that it had such a life over these 35 years, it's incredible.
It really is, and I got to tell you, I love. My sister and I, we watched that movie over and over again, so I loved it, and I'll always love it. And I love Star Trek Discovery. To me, it's already established itself as one of the great shows in the history of Star Trek. And I wonder about the history of Star Trek. When you were approached to be in Star Trek Discovery, I'm sure it was a franchise you were familiar with, but had you previously watched Star Trek? Are you a sci-fi guy? Were you into it?
I was very into it. I've always been a sci-fi and fantasy nerd and comic book nerd from when I was a very young kid, and I saw the original series after school, and I watched the original movies in theater. I hadn't seen any of the 90s shows because I was working a lot at the time, and that was before you could stream shows, and I wasn't like videotaping them. So I missed a whole era of it. When I got cast, I never would have thought of myself being in it. I thought, I'm just going to be a fan of these shows. Similarly, like superhero shows, like maybe someday I'll be in one of those movies, but it's not something that I imagined for myself. And similarly, when that happened, I was like, wow, this is going to change my life. And I then went back and watched a lot of Next Gen and Deep Space Nine and Voyager to really get more acquainted with what had gone on in between the original and now. And I was really even more excited because of how much great work so many of those actors did over those years. Trek really is like it's a platform for wonderful actors. There's something almost like theatrical about it in some ways, and there's a lot of stuff you can really sink your teeth into. So that's proven to be the case in our show as well.
And not only being on Star Trek Discovery, but there's also historic significance to playing the ship's chief engineer. We all know Beam Me Up Scotty, and everybody loves Geordi LaForge. And now you yourself, you're immortalized as the chief engineer of the Starship Discovery. And on top of that, you introduce a new technology to the Star Trek mythology, astromycology. Just talk about that.
Yeah, I actually got to meet a real astromycologist a couple of years ago when I got invited to speak at a science conference, which is one of the other cool things that's happened because of being a part of Star Trek. But my character, Paul Stamets, is inspired by a real mycologist named Paul Stamets who lives in our day and age, doing incredible work in the field of fungi and mushrooms and mycelium. they really could change the course of our environmental impact that we're having. They're kind of nature's recyclers. So our original creators of our show wanted to celebrate his work and bring it into, the context of space. There's going to be these kinds of organisms all over the universe, most likely. So it's really cool to help introduce not only some of the fun concepts that we're working on, but also many, many people have gone back and discovered the real Paul Stamets and his work because of our show, and that makes me really happy.
Very cool. And as you know, Star Trek's always been on the forefront of civil rights and social justice, known for the first interracial kiss on television, a crew with all different types of people in the 60s, a Japanese man, a black woman, a Russian man during the Cold War in positions of power, just always on the forefront of things like that. And this show represents the LGBTQ plus community really well. Your relationship with Dr. Hugh Culber is a huge part of the show. Just talk about what that means to you to represent LGBTQ plus on Star Trek.
Well, it's a huge frontier that they hadn't crossed over yet for all the years that Star Trek has been around and making waves in terms of representation. That was an area that they had been lacking in. There were people who were trying to make it happen in Next Generation and Voyager, but the networks at the time just shied away from it. So thankfully, in our day and age, CBS All Access, CBS Studios, Paramount Plus have been fully in support of our writers, bringing all kinds of people, including my character Paul. He and his partner Hugh Hugh is the ship's doctor and counselor, and I'm scientist and engineer on the show. That we're a couple, and then there is a trans and non-binary younger couple that we've kind of adopted as our, found family on the show, on the ship. That's been fully embraced by not only our studio and our network, but also our fan base. And there's so many people when we've met them who talk about how much it means to them that not only either they themselves are feeling seen, or they know how to then talk to their children or their friends, colleagues. That's the reason for representation. It helps make a difference in the way that people are treated around the world. And in this day and age, especially when young trans people are under attack in different places, they need all the help and support they can get.
3 quick questions so our listeners can know if they're just like you. They want to know if they can have a beer with you. Here you go. You're on the Super Radio Brother Hot Seat. After you're on the hot seat, you're an official Super Radio Brother. Now, I think I know the answer to this one. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek, yeah.
Of course. DC Comics or Marvel Comics?
DC Comics.
Ooh, okay. And finally, who was the best James Bond?
Oh, boy, Daniel Craig.
Wow, he went Daniel Craig. Okay, all right, very cool, awesome. And finally, you are developing a musical based off your 2006 book, Without You, A Memoir of Love, Loss, and the Musical Rent. Just talk about that real quick.
Yeah, it's a memoir that was published, as you said, in 2006. I've done a musical adaptation, different iterations of it over the years. We're going to reboot it now, hopefully get to do a real run of it between seasons 5 and 6 of Star Trek Discovery here in New York City where I live. But it's about being a part of Rent, and at the same time, my mom was in the last couple of years of her battle with cancer. So these incredibly life-changing experiences collided, and I tried to do my best to capture these highs and lows and the possibility you can live through and survive these kinds of things. So yeah, I'm very, very happy that I get to be a part of it again moving forward.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony Rapp, for being on the Super Radio Brothers. You now are an official Super Radio Brother, Lieutenant Commander Paul Stamets. Thank you so much, Anthony Rapp.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, take it easy. There you go. Tell me what you think in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this page. We're going to have plenty more content coming your way, and check out the Super Radio Brothers podcast, available on all social media platforms. I'll see you in the highlights.